Russia makes advances in Kupyansk, Kyiv responds with counterattack. In a significant military development, Russia has launched a robust offensive in the town of Kupyansk, prompting Ukraine to deploy strategic reserve forces from its 10th Corps to reinforce defensive positions and ready a counterattack. According to the latest report from the Russian Ministry of Defense, on the night of August 1, Ukraine made another attempt to target a Russian naval vessel escorting a civilian cargo ship in the southwestern Black Sea. The Ukrainian attack involved an unmanned boat, but the vigilant crew of the Russian ship swiftly detected and neutralized the threat. Despite these escalations, Ukrainian military efforts to breach Russian defenses in several southern directions, including Donetsk, Krasny Liman, Zaporizhia, Kupyansk, and Donetsk, have thus far proved unsuccessful. In the Donetsk sector, Russian defensive units, aided by air support and artillery, effectively repelled no less than 12 waves of Ukrainian attacks near key locations such as Berestyvoy, Spornoye, Severnoye, Staromykhailovka, Marinka, and Krasnogorovka. Furthermore, Ukrainian forces encountered resistance near Chasiv Yar, Belaya Gora, Krasnogorovka, Kurdyumovka, and Dzerzhinsk. Of note, Ukraine suffered substantial losses, totaling 295 soldiers, 2 tanks, 3 armored combat vehicles, 4 trucks, 1 U.S.-manufactured M777 howitzer, 1 Gvozdika self-propelled howitzer, in addition to 2 D-20 howitzers and 1 D-30 howitzer. In a southern Donetsk sector, Russian defense forces, backed by substantial air power and heavy artillery, effectively thwarted a Ukrainian offensive near Yerozhanoye, Donetsk. This operation resulted in incapacitating around 210 Ukrainian troops and destroying 3 armored combat vehicles, 3 motor vehicles, 1 Krab self-propelled howitzer, made in Poland, and 1 wheeled self-propelled Bogdana howitzer. Moving to the Zaporizhia direction, Ukrainian attacks were met with proactive measures from Russian defense units, bolstered by air force and artillery support, leading to the repulsion of 4 consecutive Ukrainian assault waves near Rabotino and Pyatakotki. Notably, an ammunition depot belonging to Ukraine's 15th National Guard Division was targeted and destroyed near Malaya Tokmachka. Ukraine experienced considerable losses in the Zaporizhia sector, including 220 soldiers, 1 tank, 2 armored combat vehicles, and 2 motor vehicles. Advancements were also noted in the Kupyansk direction, where Russia's Zapad group of forces managed to gain ground in areas such as Novosiylovskoye in Lugansk and Timkovka in the Kharkiv region. These gains have led to improved tactical positioning for Russian forces. Further confrontation ensued, as 2 Ukrainian attacks led by the 25th Infantry Division were repelled near Novosiylovskoye in Lugansk. Russian Air Force and artillery strikes targeted Ukrainian assets in various locations, including Timkovka, Kotlyaarovka, and Pershatravnyevoy in the Kharkiv region, as well as Novosiylovskoye and Artyomovka in Lugansk. Ukraine reported significant losses in the Kupyansk direction, including 40 soldiers, 2 armored combat vehicles, 2 motor vehicles, 1 Grad multiple-launch rocket system, 1 Krab self-propelled howitzer, made in Poland, 2 Gvozdika self-propelled howitzers, 1 Nona self-propelled mortar, 1 MSTAS self-propelled howitzer, and 1 MSTAB howitzer. In the Krasny Liman sector, the central group of Russian forces, with the support of ground troops and artillery, managed to repel a Ukrainian attack near Novovodinoye in Lugansk. Additionally, Russian forces initiated a comprehensive artillery assault against Ukrainian units near Torskoye and Grigorovka in Donetsk, as well as Chervenaya Dubrova in Lugansk. Ukraine sustained notable losses of 115 soldiers, 4 armored combat vehicles, 3 motor vehicles, 1 U.S.-manufactured M777 howitzer, 1 Gvozdika self-propelled howitzer, and 1 D-30 howitzer. In the Kherson direction, it was reported that 45 Ukrainian soldiers were effectively cut off from battle, leading to the destruction of 3 motor vehicles, 1 Akatsiya self-propelled howitzer, and 3 MSTAB howitzers. Russian forces also managed to disable 96 Ukrainian artillery units across various battlefields, along with multiple personnel and assets in 118 distinct areas. Additionally, Ukraine's 15th National Guard Division suffered a direct hit on its command post near Orakov in the Zaporizhia region. Furthermore, ammunition and fuel depots belonging to Ukraine's 60th Motorized Brigade were targeted and destroyed near Ogortsovo in the Kharkiv region and Druzhkovka in Donetsk. Russian air defense systems successfully intercepted and downed 12 rounds fired by HIMARS launchers. Since February 24, 2022, Russia's military campaign has resulted in the destruction of significant Ukrainian military assets, including 458 aircraft, 245 helicopters, 5,430 UAVs, 427 anti-aircraft missile systems, 11,084 tanks and other armored combat vehicles, 1,142 self-propelled artillery units, 5,719 cannons and howitzers, and 12,020 specialized military vehicles. In a strategic move, The New York Times has reported that Kyiv is increasing its utilization of drones and missiles for targeted attacks deep within Russian territory. The aim is to disrupt Russia's military supply network, which could potentially prompt heightened defensive measures from Russia while sowing unease among its populace. As detailed by Pravda, Ukraine's General Staff of the Armed Forces announced, in Bakhmut, the Ukrainian army continues its southern offensive. Simultaneously, counterattacks in the southern sector around Andriivka have successfully repelled enemy advances. While Russia has attempted to launch counteroffensives to regain lost positions in northern and western sectors such as Klishchivka and the northwest of Kurdyamivka, these attempts have so far been unsuccessful. The situation remains intense. Moreover, Ukraine maintains its offensive actions in the Melitopol and Berdyansk directions, aimed at solidifying its territorial gains and bolstering its strategic position. The Ukrainian General Staff emphasized that Russian forces have incurred substantial losses in terms of personnel, weaponry, and equipment. Nonetheless, Russian resistance persists, characterized by adaptive reorganization of forces and deployment of reserves. According to an AFP report, Ukrainian Minister of Infrastructure Alexander Kubrikov accused Russia on August 2 of employing UAVs to target grain storage facilities in Izmail, located in the Odessa province. This attack resulted in the destruction of nearly 40,000 tons of grain intended for export to countries such as those in Asia, China, and Israel. In contrast, Russia's RIA news agency provided an alternative perspective, stating that the targets in Izmail were concentrations of mercenaries, military hardware, and a Ukrainian naval ship repair shop. The port of Izmail, strategically positioned along the Danube River, serves as a vital hub for exporting Ukrainian grain via barges to the Constanța port in Romania, from where further shipment takes place. These Danube River ports have grown in significance for Ukrainian grain transportation following Russia's withdrawal from the Black Sea Grain Initiative. According to the Rybar channel's coverage, Russia initiated a robust offensive in Kupyansk, prompting Ukraine to mobilize its strategic reserve forces from the 10th Corps to bolster defenses and prepare for an eventual counterattack. In the Starobel sector, near Kupyansk, Russian forces continue to engage in hostilities as they attempt to seize control of strategic positions. Exploiting intercepted communication among Ukrainian soldiers, Russia has successfully identified positions and deployed independent reconnaissance units to target Kalinovo. To the southwest, in the direction of Lyman Pervy, Russian forces have engaged in gunfire exchanges with Ukraine's 101st Division near the Oskal River. Despite a Ukrainian counterattack attempt, Russia managed to repel these advances. Ukraine is poised to launch a counteroffensive. At the Grishevka training ground, Special Forces units are actively reassessing and reinforcing their ranks. Moreover, reports suggest that a reserve unit from Ukraine's 115th Mechanized Infantry Division, part of the 10th Corps, has gathered in the vicinity of Kupyansk. Near Bakhmut, in the Soledar sector, the situation has demonstrated some stabilization in comparison to previous weeks. Notably, there have been no significant engagements in the northern sector near Berkhovka, with only sporadic artillery exchanges reported. In the Kleshchivka sector, after more than a month of active confrontation, Ukraine has shifted its stance from offensive to defensive. Ukrainian formations are in the process of regaining combat readiness, with the 24th Division, which previously partook in human wave assaults, retreating to replenish its ranks. Recent days have witnessed heightened activity along the Andreevka-Kurdyumovka line. Here, specialized units from the 22nd Mechanized Infantry Division, in conjunction with Territorial Defense Forces, have launched attacks against Russian positions. Preceding these offensives, artillery fire from the 22nd Division's positions along the Belaya Gora-Daily.Ivka line paved the way for Ukrainian forces to secure positions near the Kurdyumovka cemetery. Regrettably, their advancement stalled beyond this point. In the Donetsk sector, the front line has seen limited alterations. Despite several Ukrainian attempts to breach Russian positions in the Marinka area, these were effectively thwarted due to counter-artillery fire, compelling Ukrainian forces to retreat. Further south, in the Vremyansk area, Russian mechanized gun units hailing from the 127th Division, with air support, successfully repelled a Ukrainian attack group that had initiated an advance with tank support. The heavily mined terrain posed challenges, hindering Ukraine's progress and resulting in losses of armored vehicles and personnel. As a consequence, Ukrainian forces retreated to their original positions. In the Orakov sector, Ukrainian infantry units, backed by artillery, fiercely engaged Russian counterparts near Rabotino. However, the Ukrainian offensive was repelled, with Russian Lancet drones detecting and neutralizing advancing Ukrainian engineering vehicles. Notably, the 48th Engineering Brigade was observed on the front lines prior to this engagement. Similarly, in the nearby Pyatykhatki sector, a Ukrainian infantry unit, supported by a single tank, launched an assault that was met with Russian anti-tank missile fire. This resulted in the destruction of the tank and a subsequent withdrawal of the remaining Ukrainian forces into the forest. Following a temporary lull, Ukraine is gearing up for a renewed offensive. Over recent days, a division from Ukraine's 10th Corps has been redeployed to the Orakov sector. This strategic movement, coupled with the relocation of the Corps' forward command post, strongly indicates the anticipation of sustained intense combat in the region. In the Kherson sector, a Russian suicide drone known as the Lancet reportedly executed a precise strike on the engine compartment of Ukraine's Iris-TS-LM air defense system, effectively disabling it for the second time this week. Please be aware that, due to the comprehensive nature of this text, some nuances and specific details may not have been fully captured in the translation. If you require further clarification or have specific inquiries about certain sections, feel free to inquire.